Hello, what's up? Um, it's not the end of the weekend, but there was loads of amazing lists that came out of yesterday, which were they had the Law League and the what's it called, WCC thing or whatever, the big 5K event in America. And yeah, we got to see just loads and loads of Kiwi or Sapphire Steel aggros, like also, as well with the Kiwi thing, like if you're a player who's playing Sapphire Steel aggro but don't want to call you a deck Kiwi, that's fine. I'm not gonna make you call it that. I just think it's funny that people still use that phrasing. But we can see awesome lists, and what I really like when you get events, it's always the best thing with TCGs is like you get so much more data. So when you keep a list private and you think you've cracked something that's brilliant, you might have something that's really awesome and works, and that's how we felt. Justin felt with set six when we were playing the Kiwi list, and that's great. That I mean, for me, that did amazingly. That managed to get me really good outcomes on a lot of events that I did. But once you make a list public and everyone gets their hands on it, you get huge meta shares like this, which is awesome to see. But also, it means you get so much more data because you get so many more people testing, so many people trying new cards, seeing what decks make the top cut, what decks don't make the top cut, what cards are working, what cards aren't. You just get so much more data from it. So it's just awesome to see the deck getting like above a 15%. I think it's the second most popular deck at the Law League, which is the event they do in Italy. Which just wow is awesome. Awesome to see. I'm pretty sure in there there'll be a few blue steel like tempo-y decks though, and they've just classified it differently because I'll be honest with you, the artifacts list and the aggro list tend to overlap a little bit. I do think they are distinctly different decks, but they do tend to overlap in what they aim to do. They just play a curve out and try and aggressively get to that lore gain. But we saw some awesome lists, and I think one thing to really mention as well is on ink decks last time this classification of Sapphire Steel aggro. I think they've dropped Cogsworth and Friends, which is good because then it makes these two a bit more buffed out on what they actually are. But this was tier 3 if you checked before yesterday, and it's gone up 11% and they put it into tier 1 now. So awesome, as well as like I'm saying, I've got a couple lists to show you and everything, but if you want to just like check out some lists, see some ones that haven't performed well, and maybe looked at cards, why or like maybe why that happened. Again, like just because a list hasn't performed well one day, it might just be they had a really bad day, which just happens to all of us. But then you also get to look at lists perform well. You get to look at cards. You get to look at things like LD's list. You get to be like, oh, I haven't tried Anna. I'll put Anna on my list. So awesome. If you just like really want to progress this deck, keep looking for other deck lists, see what's worked for other people, try those cards in, run them at events, run them locally at leagues, run them winner boxes, winner tournaments. If we had DLCs, I'd say run them there, and that just helps everyone who plays VS aggro because we get more data. Post about it, tweet it, send it to me if you want, and I can talk about it on the videos. But yeah, there's just tons of data, and I've got a couple lists here that to me really stood out. But like I say, it's just amazing to see this deck perform so well. I try not to take like credit like it's like I'm not like the guy who invented these two color pairings and these cards in these deck because to be honest with you, Justin made this deck. He's done most of the work on this deck, but I feel there's probably some right in saying if the deck didn't boost in popularity or get a lot of play in set six, we wouldn't be at this state in set seven. I don't think people would have carried over, and I don't think people would have looked at Alice Pluto as much. Because the new Scrooge and the new Tamatoa, all their eyes would be on those cards. Because to be honest with you, the new Sapphire Steel cards, yeah, Scrooge and Tamatoa and doing those giant dime taps is like the best way right now. It's overpowered. Its high rolls are insane. Its low rolls are pretty low. But I don't think anyone would be looking at Alice and Pluto and trying to look at building a curve build. So I think the stepping stones and everyone who played it in set six as well, nearing the end of the set, was great. We were running out of events. I think it was only Melbourne that was there, but we're at this point now where it's quite a respectable deck. And I played a lot of Ruby Sapphire players who mentioned that they were basically just teching very heavily for the Kiwi meta because they just assumed they'd see loads of it in Swiss, which is awesome. But yep, just really great to see the deck booming, and I'm quite happy with that because I'm not really in the mood to play a ramp deck, and I just kind of want to keep playing the deck that I enjoy with Alice and Pluto. So this one is from the WCC 5K. The day one, so it goes into the day two, I assume, and then the top 16 will play out. But this was the standout list. This was the list actually quite a few people sent to me and said, "Did you see this made top cut?" So Cody, Braun. Sorry, I'm really bad with American names. I'm so British, I can't say anyone's name who's not who's outside of Britain. I'm just really bad at them, I'm afraid. But everyone keeps sending me this, and I think a lot of people's eyes went straight to the Aurora. which is a really interesting include. I can't be shy in saying a lot of people have mentioned Aurora, and the thing with Aurora is I don't think she works the same as Cogsworth. Like, Cogsworth nullifies all steel removal and makes it one less effective. Aurora basically just funnels all the steel removal into Aurora. So it'd be interesting to see what the players' thoughts are on it if that card was performing quite well, because it was only at a 2 count, so that could be inked and not used. And I think the one timer tower is really cool and really cheeky because you can have it as a top deck later on in the game, and if you've been using Hirams and docks, top decking that Tamatoa is almost as good as top decking the dock or the Hiram because you get this 4/5 on board, the quest for two, you get your draw engine, or you get some draw cards back. I think having the deck kind of like it caps out at 5, but then you've got a few cards that are over. Might make the top decks a bit of a rough, but I think with the docks and stuff like that, and the top decks are inkable. You know, you can ink and play the docks and just keep funneling through. So yeah, it's interesting to see the docks being kept in there. I like this aggression on the 3 drops. Like, there's just so much going on here. I think as well. I think from both of these lists, we've seen Baymax cut, and I think yeah, I probably agree. Baymax has always been the most cuttable card from the list. Like, you don't need him to win games. He sort of sometimes can be an extension of Cogsworth. If you miss Cogsworth, you know, you can start trading with like a Scrooge McDuck and then play a Baymax on top to start healing more. But I think some of this as well was done because I've got Scrooge McDuck. So I'm not saying everyone should play Scrooge McDuck, but I think it's a very good card. And I think in the mirror, it's very awesome if you can go Scrooge into Cogsworth, hit the Pluto, take that Pluto out. You've still got awkward bodies on your board. Um, so I think it's very good there, but I think some of the inkables in this list, maybe like Miss Bianca and Lawrence, are here because you've now got 4 docks, you know, a bunch of Let the Storm, Zeus. So you've got quite a high uninkable count. So the mulliganing heavy for the bell and all the other bits that you want to do that strong curve might be a bit rougher. But really awesome. Cody, have you ever watched any of my videos? I think you might be somebody who messaged me as well. Like, sorry, I've been really busy yesterday. I've only really managed to catch up on everything today, and I'm watching through the clips, trying to see any Kiwi gameplay on the streams, but it's awesome. Um, but yeah, I think it's all really rounded, cool list. I think going down to 3 Alice is never bad as well if you've got the 3 Lawrence because you're basically just playing a strong body. You probably might even want to opt to play the Lawrence a bit more and really not really focusing on the Alice Pluto um, Wardlock here as much as you have in the other builds, which I kind of think is cool because to be honest with you, at this point, you mulligan's so heavy for this Bell turn one because Bell singing removal sometimes can just win you a ton of matchups that the idea of you mulling heavy for Bell and also getting Alice Pluto can be fairly tricky. So I think a lot of these cards were probably thought about with the American meta in mind as well, which, like, of course, I only know from talking to American players um, what kind of cards get included there, what kind of cards are good there. I noticed as well a lot of the American lists like have stuck with Doc, which I think is really cool that like people are enjoying Doc there. And then I've seen in the European lists like Doc is pretty much not even appearing in any of them. So it's kind of cool that we've got like these two uh, versions like building against each other and we'll never really know which one's better, but yeah, really interesting list. I think the Aurora is a cool addition. I think it definitely will catch people off guard, especially in Swiss. You know, you'll play around so much stuff, and then you'll play an Aurora, and you'll ward up a bunch of things, and they won't really be able to play around that. And Lawrence is just always strong as well. And keeping the 4 manners in there. The manners was something I was a little bit worried about. I think I saw like Sailor posted as well. Like a lot of the Ruby Sapphire lists were going like 4x location hate cards. But I still think you can play them in there. They're like the safest ink majority of the time. And actually, if the Ruby Sapphire player doesn't have an answer, you get quite a lot of value out of them. And sometimes their answer might be like a Maui or something. It won't even be the Hideaway or the Cusco. But yeah, basically, if you play a mana and they Cusco the mana, I feel a really rough spot for me. But the 2 Zeuses are pretty nice. Maybe testing around with Zeuses again. This list looks like it leans a little bit more on the mid range. Also getting stronger bodies on the board to sing that Zeus. But awesome list. I feel like I'm going to talk about this list forever if I keep looking at longer. So really cool. Check it out and give it a try. And this list from Law League, I saw the poster on Twitter. Awesome player, a lovely guy. I played him in Birmingham, like Axion, and one of the side events as well. I always like to catch up. I remember playing him in Paris for the first time, and he got to play against like the original version of the VS aggro deck when it had like Philosophites in it and like Smash and Twinfire and just the most random cards that I'd included when I managed to be fortunate enough to go play in the Continentals. So it's just awesome to see now. Actually, yeah, in the long run now he's gone to build his own version and done quite well with it and got it into the 2-0s into Law League. And I think it's really heartening for me to see this big meta share at Law League, and the complaints about the deck has always been it doesn't win on the draw, or it struggles to win on the draw, and someone getting to top 16 or doing quite well. And I think there was quite a lot lingering around the top cut, and I think more than one of these. There was the artifact style lists that made top 16 quite a lot, but the fact that it is performing well in a two-game format is just very like reassuring for me. When DLC comes around, I can actually enjoy and play this list at DLC. Like I say, I played it in Continentals in two-game format, and it felt fine. Like you knew you had some matches where you could 2-0, and then like basically Ruby Sapphire, you were like, yeah, I hope to split this. So it just felt very consistent there. And we talk about this, yeah, just saying, really good results and really good data to know that the deck is performing well in two-game format, and a lot of people are enjoying bringing it. If you manage to play in either of these events, by the way, just let me know and like comment or something like that. That would be cool. But getting into this list, like, yeah, it feels very standard to me and to Calhoun. I did drop Calhoun for the Anna, and I'll admit the results from that have not been astounding. Like, I'm not feeling like I'm winning more that I've included Anna. I think Calhoun just as a 3-3 on board is better. Because Anna can't even. Anna is just horrible into red blue because she's like the biggest little Sisu target of all time and the worst big Sisu target. She's quite a rough top deck as well because you need a hero on board, so she's not even a two quester later on in the game. So I think, yeah, maybe my enjoyment of Anna is fading, and I kind of want to go back to Calhoun, and you're kind of losing points where Calhoun was winning you points. Like, I'm not saying I'm struggling against Purple Steel now or Amber Steel because I haven't got a Calhoun list. I've only got Anna, but I'll admit, why not just focus in and get the 2-0s on the lists that you can 2-0 and stop putting cards in your list that you think kind of maybe will help you beat um, like a Sapphire Steel or Ruby Sapphire. So yeah, definitely I'm gonna have to consider taking Anna out and putting the Calhoun back in. As I'm seeing like quite a lot of these lists as well are running it. They are not. They're only on two drop, on 1-2 drop, which I hadn't even noticed. They're just on the SME, which is wow, that's really interesting. But to be honest with you, what I found, if you can get the Bell turn one, sometimes your 2 drop can just be a bit of a weaker thing really. Like sometimes it can just be spam some items or items in a 1 drop. Um, but I think as well, there's also a cool thing if you're going into the later turns and you've got a Bell and a Calhoun out, like Hiram isn't safe and you can just trade up so nicely. And if you play the Cogsworth buff down and then you start killing things with Calhoun, you can do a lot of work there. So I think for me, yeah, it's interesting to see Calhoun sticking around. It'd be nice to know if anyone else thought Calhoun was such a dead card for them in games. It was kind of getting like that for me. But yeah, I'm seeing the card appearing everywhere, so it's making, like I say, just really good data to see other people playing the deck and getting good results and seeing what cards work for them. I like the two Wendy Darlings. It's definitely something that I mean, literally thinking about my list, I think I'll just drop the two Baymaxes and put Wendy Darlings in. Baymax is fun, but I can't say how much he actually wins me games. So yeah, I think they're really cool additions. And I've been thinking about them as well. Looking at other ward cards, and there's a Donald Duck in the set one, I think. Sorry, it's a 5 cost ward 4/3. The quest for 2, and it's like actually I'd rather just play Wendy Darling because she's doing the same role, which is she's not dying to Big Sisu, and she's questing for 2, and even maybe and she's cheaper. She's 2 cheaper, and I can maybe double spell. They're all going to get removed when they turn sideways anyway, so it's just that 2 lore you're really trying to get from them. The Lawrence is in. I'm noticing a lot playing the Lawrences. I think maybe definitely. I think to be honest with you, this looks like it's performing a lot better than anything I'm coming up with. I'm pretty sure it's very built towards the meta that the gentleman was expecting in Italy, which to be honest with you is like I played in the Law League once and it's like 70 or 80% Italian and then 20% other people outside of Europe. They are getting a lot bigger and getting a lot more Europeans involved, but for right now, yeah, it's sort of a very Italian meta, which to be honest with you, a lot of them like Steel Song. Steel Song and Ruby Sapphire are the two that are the most prominent there. And again, we're seeing the Zeuses in there, 2 counts of Zeuses, which again makes me rethink. Maybe the list can't, like I've been trying to push with my list, it can't afford to just be full on 100% aggro. It maybe needs these Zeuses in there to take stuff out. try gain some tempo back, and then start questing out again. So yeah, interesting to see Zeus appearing into a lot of these lists. So this is one I'd love to build and just try out locally. To be honest with you, I really like it. The only thing I would question again, like they've done really well. Like this is not me trying to slay anything. Like this is, I think it's awesome. Is the one drop situation sort of? Of course, I've been always a big fan of Mulan because it gives you that filter. And then if I was to swap the Mulans out, I don't know if I would start splitting it up between Mickey Mouse and Captain Hook and stuff like that. I don't know if I would start shifting it between things. I'm kind of heard a lot about the joy of Captain Hook. It's for the later stages in the game when you kind of want to snap back. So you've got something exerted, they run in, then you can charge Captain Hook in as well. I don't believe they're played on the turn one. You're kind of aiming for that port bell turn one every game anyway. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see what they've landed on, like two counts of Hook, one Mickey Mouse. I'm kind of falling way out of favour of Mickey Mouse, to be honest with you. I think he's got some awesome things he can do into purple matchups, but overall, yeah, I'm kind of feeling him a little bit of a less relevant card. But yeah, just amazing list, done really well. Be nice to hear the players' thoughts. I'll probably reach out to them and ask. So yeah, there's a couple lists there if you're trying to play locally and kind of want something a bit more updated. As I say, it's nice to see the deck progress and like as much work and time as I put into playing the deck and trying to improve it. It's always nice that you can have these big events and you just basically get a handful of data that you can just pull and go, right now I can also include these or I can test these things out and see if they work. And we can talk to the players and we can kind of work together to make the ultimate versions of these lists. So awesome. Yeah, very cool to see. Love that people are enjoying this style of deck.